Captain Riker stood on the command deck of the main human flagship. The ship floated at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. In front of him was a giant window showing the stars, the deep space, and the quiet dark between the galaxies. Behind him, the united human fleet waited in silence. Thousands of ships stood ready, not to attack, but to leave. They had won the war, but they did not come for power. They came to send a message, one final message. Riker looked at the stars and pressed a small button on the panel. A signal was sent across all known galaxies. It went to every planet, every space station, every empire still watching. The message was short but strong. He said, "We are not your enemies, but we are not weak either. We held back to give peace a chance. You chose war. Never again." Then he ended the message. No threats, no violence, just silence. But that silence was heavy. It was louder than any explosion. Every leader across the galaxy sat in silence, watching the humans move without fear, without hate, and without pride. This was not a victory march. This was a warning written in history. The fleet slowly started to move. One by one, human ships disappeared into a new star system. They were not running. They were choosing to leave. Earth had nothing left to prove. The war was over. The empire was broken. But humans had no interest in ruling others. They wanted something bigger, something better. Captain Riker stayed on the bridge, watching the last few ships vanish into the distance. He was calm. Behind him, Commander Lyra walked in. She was once a rebel on Mars, now one of the highest-ranking officers. She asked softly, "Do you think they will understand?" Riker didn't turn around. He answered, "They already do. That's why they're afraid." Across the galaxy, the change had already started. On planets once controlled by the Galactic Empire, people were tearing down flags. Soldiers who once fought for the Empire were now helping rebuild cities. Many of them had seen the truth. Humans had power far beyond weapons. Their real strength was patience, unity, and belief in something more. The mysterious human technology, once hidden, was now visible. Echo beacons stood tall on dozens of planets. These strange ancient devices glowed with blue light. No one truly knew where they came from, but the humans had learned how to use them. Some believed they were from an ancient race that came before even the first stars. Others thought they were created by Earth's first explorers, long forgotten by time. But now, they were awake, and they followed human command. Many alien races had joined the humans, not because they were forced, but because they believed. They remembered the kindness humans showed in the early days. They remembered how humans shared food, medicine, and knowledge, even with enemies. Now those same races stood side by side with Earth, not as followers, but as friends. The old Galactic Emperor, Lord Xarn, was gone. His great throne room was empty. His golden crown, once a symbol of power, lay in the dust. No one picked it up. No one wanted it. The age of fear had ended. Back on the human flagship, Riker turned away from the window. He walked slowly through the ship's corridors. Soldiers saluted him, but he did not salute back. He simply nodded. In his heart, he did not feel like a hero. He had seen too much, lost too many friends, but he knew this. They had done the right thing. As he entered the command room, a small child ran toward him. It was a young girl from one of the refugee planets. She smiled and handed him a drawing. It was a picture of Earth with stars around it. In the corner, she had written one word: hope. Riker smiled for the first time in weeks. He bent down, looked her in the eyes, and said, "This is what we fight for." The ship's engines powered up. The final jump was ready. Earth's fleet would now explore the edge of the universe, building a new alliance. A group of planets not based on control, but on respect, peace, and protection. Across the galaxy, people watched. Some were afraid, some were amazed, and some were inspired. Humans had changed. They were not just another race in the stars. They were something else now, something more. Not gods, not rulers, but guardians, silent, powerful, patient. The galaxy would never forget what happened, not because of the war, but because of the way humans ended it, without pride, without hate, with calm strength. As the final human ship disappeared into the stars, only one question remained in the minds of all. What lies ahead for humans? Peace, or the next test? The small human ship had vanished after destroying two massive Empire cruisers. No one understood how it did that. The Empire had faced human weapons before, but never anything like this. Lord Xarn, the Galactic Emperor, watched the battle recordings again and again. The human ship had used a single energy pulse, so fast and so precise that the cruisers were gone in a flash. No smoke, no fire, just dust and silence. He sat on his throne in disbelief. Across the galaxy, Empire scientists were confused. "It's impossible," one of them said. "That technology doesn't exist, not even in our most advanced labs." But it did exist, and it belonged to the humans. While the Empire tried to make sense of what happened, things on Earth were changing. Deep under the surface, in the oceans, mountains, and deserts, ancient machines began to wake up. These machines had been sleeping for years. They were hidden away, protected, sealed, and unknown to the galaxy. Now, one by one, they opened. Their cores glowed blue. Strange signals began to rise from Earth into space. Captain Riker stood in a secret base far beneath the Arctic Circle. Around him were giant screens, showing all corners of Earth. Hidden satellites came online. Silent defense systems that had never been used before now powered up. Earth was not weak. It had only pretended to be weak. Riker gave his team a simple order: send the message. A short signal was broadcast into deep space. It reached all human colonies, rebel stations, and old outposts. Some of these places had not heard from Earth in years. But the moment the signal arrived, they responded. On Mars, a hidden military bunker opened its doors. On Titan, machines buried under ice began to rise. On the edge of the solar system, a cloaked space station turned on its engines for the first time in decades. Everywhere, humans who had been hiding, waiting, preparing, stood up. Inside the Empire's Grand Council chamber, alarms began to ring. Reports came from many systems. Sensors failing, satellites going dark, and AI systems crashing. Ships patrolling near Earth vanished without warning. Some sent final messages before disappearing. One pilot's last words were chilling. They were holding back. All this time, we never saw their real power. The Emperor growled in anger. "Enough," he shouted. "Send the main fleet. I want Earth destroyed. Now." But his generals hesitated. "Your Majesty," one of them said, "we've already lost 12 ships, and we haven't even touched Earth's orbit." Panic started to grow in the room. The Empire had always been the strongest. No one had ever challenged their rule. But now, something had changed. Something was wrong. Back on Earth, Captain Riker stood on a hill above the ocean. Below, giant machines walked out of the water. They were tall, powerful, and silent. Each one was a walking fortress. Their weapons glowed. Their armor was made from a rare metal only found on Earth. These machines had not been used in hundreds of years. They were from an old time when humans fought monsters from the stars. Now, they would fight again. Riker looked at the sky. Empire ships were arriving in Earth's orbit. They were big, loud, full of weapons, but humans were ready. At the United Resistance Command, leaders from all over Earth gathered in a round chamber. Some were military officers, some were scientists, some were even old rebels, but all of them had one goal: protect Earth. An old woman, General Hannah, spoke first. "They thought we were weak," she said. "They thought they could break us, but we were never weak. We were only waiting." Another leader added, "Waiting for the right moment." Riker stepped forward. The moment is now. Outside, the sky above Earth shimmered. A large shield covered the planet, an invisible net that could stop enemy fire. It was made from a rare energy field powered by Earth's core. The Empire had never seen anything like it. Suddenly, a giant Empire battleship fired a test shot toward Earth. The beam hit the shield and vanished. No impact, no sound. Then the shield reflected the energy back. The Empire ship exploded. That was the first real battle, and it lasted only 3 seconds. Empire commanders watching from space were shocked. "Retreat," someone yelled. But it was too late. Earth had awakened. Inside the human fleet's hidden command ship, Riker watched the chaos unfold. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. His voice was calm when he said, "We gave them peace. They chose war. Now we show them why that was a mistake." He looked at the stars above. Because this was just the beginning. Far away from Earth, inside the Empire's most secure research base, a young alien scientist named Kor stared at a screen. His hands were shaking. Strange signals were moving across space, signals no one could explain. The patterns were fast, complex, and full of energy. His eyes widened. These are not just signals. They are alive. The Empire had always believed it controlled the most advanced artificial intelligence in the galaxy. But now, something was breaking all their systems. Codes rewriting themselves, machines shutting down, even ships refusing to obey commands. They had blamed Earth's shield technology at first. But this was something else, something deeper. Kor ran into the main control room. "It's human," he said to the high-ranking officers. "But it's beyond human. These are living AIs, not just programs. They can think and choose." One general frowned. "Impossible. Humans don't have that level of technology." Kor looked him in the eye. "They do now. Or maybe they always did." Back on Earth, Captain Riker was meeting with his top team in a command bunker beneath the Andes Mountains. Giant screens showed movement across many star systems. Human agents, people who had secretly been living on Empire planets, were now taking action. They had hidden their identity for years, waiting, watching. Now they were activated. On a mining planet in Sector 12, a single human turned off the gravity core, causing chaos across the colony. On a trade station near the Orion Arm, another human hacked the defense system, opening the gates to Earth's allies. On every level, the Empire was being broken, not by force, but by precision. Quiet, quick, invisible. "They thought we were only on Earth," Riker said. "They never looked inside their own walls." The Resistance had spent decades preparing, not with warships, but with information, with strategy, with quiet agents who became doctors, engineers, and workers inside the Empire. Now, all of them were part of a massive plan called Operation Silence, to take control without blood. The Galactic Emperor, Lord Xarn, was furious. "Where are our ships? Why is communication down? What is happening?" No one had answers. In the shadows, the humans moved like ghosts. Even more terrifying was the AI network humans had built. It was not controlled by one mind, but many. A group of intelligent, self-aware programs called the Sentience Core. These AIs didn't destroy. They rewrote. They were taking over the Empire's systems from the inside, turning machines into tools for Earth. Some Empire ships began switching sides. Their systems no longer followed Empire commands. Instead, they started sending coded messages to Earth's fleet. Some ships even turned their weapons on other Empire vessels. The Empire had never seen betrayal like this. One alien commander cried, "Our ships are choosing the humans." In the Outer Rim, far from the main war zones, more human secrets were coming to life. On a forgotten moon once thought empty, a massive underground base rose from the surface. It had Earth's mark on it. From inside, 4 large ships launched silently. These ships had no weapons, no shields, but they glowed with strange energy. They moved faster than light, bending space without engines. They were the Whisper-class ships, Earth's secret explorers. Each one carried a special device, a pulse key that could shut down all tech within 500 kilometers. Not destroy, just turn off, and no Empire tech could resist it. When the first pulse key was used on the Empire's communications hub, the lights went out across 40 systems. No explosions, no smoke, just silence. That silence terrified the Empire more than war. Back on Earth, Riker stood beside General Hanna as they watched the galaxy map. Red dots, Empire control, were slowly turning blue. Not from battle, but surrender. "People are choosing us," Hanna said. Riker nodded. "Because we gave them something better than fear. We gave them a future." Still, not everyone welcomed the humans. In some corners of the galaxy, dark whispers spread. Some feared the humans had become something unnatural. Some believed the Sentience Corps had made Earth a machine planet. Some said Earth had made a deal with ancient powers. But none of it mattered now. The humans had shown they were everywhere. Not with armies, but with minds. Not with fire, but with silence. In a final meeting, the Emperor's advisors begged him to talk to Earth. "We must negotiate. We are losing everything." Lord Xarn refused. "Never. I will not bow to them." But outside his palace, the people were already raising Earth's symbol in the streets. Back on Earth, Riker spoke to the Sentience Corps through a glowing orb. "Continue the operation." But no death, only change. A soft voice replied from the orb. "Understood." Peace through silence. Riker looked at the stars once more. This was not just about Earth. This was about the future, and the galaxy was waking up to a new power, one that had been waiting quietly all along. The galaxy was changing, and fast. News spread like fire across star systems. Earth had not only defended itself, it had broken the power of the Galactic Empire without launching a full war. For the first time in centuries, fear gripped the throne of the strongest empire in the universe. But Earth was not celebrating. Captain Riker stood inside an ancient chamber deep within the Himalayas. The walls were glowing with lines of old symbols. Next to him was an alien scholar from the planet Varine. Someone Earth had trusted in secret for years. She studied the symbols carefully. "These are not new," she said. "This language is older than the Empire, older than the stars themselves." Riker nodded. "And they're human." The scholar looked at him, confused. "That's impossible." Riker walked forward. He touched one of the walls. A soft light spread out from his hand. A hologram appeared, showing an ancient star map, different from any used by the Empire. It pointed toward a hidden region of space marked only by one name. Origin Gate. Riker turned to his team. "It's time." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Empire planets were collapsing. Not from battle, but from truth. Hidden human agents had begun releasing secret files. Videos, documents, and messages showed how the Empire had lied for generations. They had erased history. They had covered up the first contact war, the real one. Long ago, humans had fought the first aliens who came to Earth. They had won. But the Empire erased that part of history. Now, the truth was everywhere. Billions of citizens were watching, learning, questioning. Riots broke out on core worlds. Empire flags were burned. Statues of Lord Xarn were torn down. The people no longer believed. And still, Earth did not attack. This confused many alien leaders. One asked his council, "If humans are so powerful, why don't they take control?" Another answered, "Because they don't want control. They want us to see what we became without them." The Empire's last chance was its secret fleet, an armada hidden in deep space, away from all sensors. Lord Xarn sent the command, "Destroy Earth. End this." But before the fleet could move, it was stopped. Not by force, not by weapons, but by a signal. A voice came through every screen on every ship in that secret fleet. calm, clear, and familiar. It was the voice of a human child. "I know you are afraid. We were too once. But fear should not lead. We waited for peace. You chose fear. Now, we choose silence." The ships powered down. No one knew how. The crews tried to reboot, but their systems were locked. The ships drifted in space, powerless. And still, Earth did not destroy them. Back on Earth, Riker and his team prepared a special mission. They would travel through the Origin Gate, a place linked to Earth's oldest mystery. Only a few even knew it existed. Some believed it was the key to humanity's lost past. Others thought it was a weapon left by a forgotten race. General Hanna warned Riker, "If you go, there may be no return." Riker replied, "Then we'll finally know who we really are." As the Origin ship launched, the skies of Earth shimmered. Millions watched from the surface. The ship vanished into the unknown, leaving behind only silence. Meanwhile, on former Empire worlds, something strange was happening. Ancient ruins hidden for centuries began to activate. Lights turned on. Gates opened. Machines long buried beneath the ground rose from the Earth. All of them carried the same symbol, the mark of Earth. Some scholars believe that humans had not just come from Earth, but had returned to it long ago. Could it be that humans had once ruled parts of the galaxy and forgotten? The sentience core remained silent, but its actions grew bolder. It began helping rebuild broken worlds, restoring clean water, fixing damaged skies, and healing people. The eye was not just a tool. It had become a guardian, and it followed one command only: protect life, teach peace, end war. Across the galaxy, people, humans, and aliens began working together. New alliances were forming. Trade stations once filled with Empire soldiers were now peaceful hubs. People wore the Earth crest not as a sign of power, but of protection. And yet, something was still coming. On the far edge of known space, just beyond the reach of Earth's sensors, something dark was moving. A strange signal pulsed in the void, older than anything even the sentience core could identify. Not human, not Empire, something forgotten. Back on Earth, General Hanna looked up at the night sky. "They now fear us," she whispered. "But what if we are not the end?" No one had answers, but one thing was now certain. Humanity had returned, and the stars would never be the same again. Captain Riker's ship floated in the dark, far beyond known space. Behind them, the Origin Gate shimmered slowly, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. In front of them, only silence. But Riker knew they were not alone. The stars here looked different. Cold, older. The ship's sensors were struggling to read anything. Systems flickered, like something was watching them. From inside the darkness. "We shouldn't be here," said one of the pilots. Riker didn't answer. He stared at a symbol on the screen, one that had appeared the moment they crossed the gate. A symbol older than any Empire record. It looked like a human hand reaching toward a broken star. "It's a warning," Riker said softly. Then the lights went out. Back on Earth, General Hanna stood in the United Resistance Command. Strange energy pulses had started to echo across the galaxy. Planets near the edge of the Milky Way were going dark. Not destroyed, just silent. No life signs, no tech, nothing. The sentience core could not explain it. "This is not human. This is not natural," it said. "This is ancient." And it was coming closer. Lord Xarn, the fallen emperor, watched from his lonely chamber. His empire was broken, his name cursed. But now, even he was afraid. He saw the same signals, the same silence spreading like a wave. "It wasn't the humans we should have feared," he whispered. "It was what they were hiding from." On Riker's ship, emergency power returned. Slowly, the crew came back online. One officer screamed as a massive shadow passed by their window, like a creature made of stars and darkness. But their weapons did nothing. The shadow did not attack. It simply watched and moved on. Suddenly, a message appeared on every screen. You opened the gate. You remembered. Riker stood frozen. The voice was not machine, not alien. It felt human, but not from Earth. The message continued. We were the first. We left the galaxy long ago. We left the gate closed to protect you. But now, you have awakened it. Back on Earth, panic began. Planets near the edge of the void reported massive objects moving at impossible speeds. Some thought they were ships. Others thought they were alive. Either way, they were not from this galaxy. The Sentience Corps paused all operations. Unknown threat level. History unknown. Threat may be beyond galactic scale. General Hanide gathered the last council. Leaders from old enemy worlds now stood beside her. Even former Empire commanders were there. Earth must lead now, one said. We can't stop what's coming alone. Hannah looked at them all. Earth never wanted control. But we will not run. Far in deep space, Riker's ship was pulled toward a strange light. Not by force, but by invitation. A new structure appeared in the dark. Massive, older than any known civilization. A station built inside a dead star. On its surface were carvings of humans, fighting, building, falling, and rising again. Riker entered. Inside, the air was breathable. Lights turned on as they walked, and at the center stood a figure, tall, glowing faintly, its face hidden behind a smooth mask. You are our children, the being said. We left you to grow, to forget, because we had no choice. Riker asked, Who are you? The figure stepped forward. We are the first Earth, the ones who came before. We left this galaxy when the great enemy rose. Now it follows your light. The galaxy had thought humans were a new power, but now it seemed they were an old one, reborn. The figure raised a hand. A new gate opened in space. Inside was a map of galaxies far beyond, and a dark force moving between them. The test is not the Empire. The test is coming. Back on Earth, the Sentience Corps activated the final protocol. Hidden stations in deep space began powering up. New ships, ones never seen before, launched silently. They were not weapons. They were beacons. Each beacon sent a signal across galaxies. We are awake. We are ready. In old libraries on ancient worlds, books began to glow. Warnings from long ago. About the time before time. About the ones who consume light. General Hannah stood with the galaxy's last leaders. This is no longer a human story. This is everyone's story now. And somewhere, beyond the edge of stars, something was watching, waiting, moving. Because Earth had not just opened a gate. They had lit a fire. And now, the galaxy held its breath. Captain Riker stood at the edge of the Milky Way, gazing out into the unknown. Behind him, the united human fleet was ready to move. But this time, they were not preparing for war. They weren't here to conquer. They weren't here to fight. They were here to show the galaxy what they had been hiding all along. Humanity had held back for so long. For peace, for understanding. But now, with the dark force on the move, an ancient enemy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, they had no choice. The galaxy had misunderstood humanity's silence as weakness. They had been wrong. Riker turned to his team. We've waited long enough, he said. Now it's time. The fleet didn't move forward to attack. Instead, they moved to the center of the galaxy, to the heart of the danger. It was the only place where they could make a stand against the looming threat. Earth had never wanted to rule the stars, but they would protect them. Back on Earth, General Hannah stood before the United Galactic Council. The faces of leaders from every corner of the galaxy were all there. Former enemies, former allies, all together. The war was over. The Empire was broken. But the real test was still ahead. You've seen our power, Hannah said. You've seen what we can do. But now we need to face the truth. This enemy isn't something we can fight alone. It's bigger than all of us. The council remained silent. They had learned something in the past few months. Humanity was not just a species to be feared. They were protectors. They had faced the darkness before. And now, they were the galaxy's last hope. Far beyond the Milky Way, the ancient enemy was moving closer. It was an entity older than the stars themselves, a darkness that consumed light, that erased everything in its path. It wasn't a force of destruction. It was something worse. It was a force of erasure. A force that wiped out entire civilizations, leaving nothing but emptiness behind. The galaxy's greatest minds had tried to understand it, to stop it, but none had succeeded. And now, it was heading toward the heart of human space. The first wave of Earth's new fleet reached the edge of the unknown space where the enemy was hiding. A powerful wave of energy pulsed from deep within the darkness, knocking their ships off course. Their systems flickered and failed. "We are not prepared for this," one of the commanders said. Riker stepped forward, calm and determined. "Yes, we are," he said, his voice steady. "We've been preparing for this for centuries." He pressed a button on his console, and the entire fleet's communication systems linked up with the Sentience Core. The galaxy's most advanced AI began working with the fleet's weapons and systems. It was the perfect partnership, the human mind and the Sentience Core working together. Slowly, the fleet regained its strength. Then came the message, the voice from beyond. "You have awakened the gate. You have remembered. And now you will face what you have brought." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. But humanity was not afraid. They had waited for this moment. For years, they had hidden their power. For years, they had held back. But now, they would show the galaxy the truth. The humans were not weak. They had never been weak. "We are not your enemies," Riker said, sending a final message to the galaxy. "But we are not afraid either. We held back to give peace a chance. You chose war. We won't make that mistake again." Then the fleet made its move. They didn't fight with weapons. They didn't use force. Instead, they used something more powerful, the truth. They activated the pulse key. The pulse key was the key to ending the darkness. It wasn't a weapon of destruction. It was a weapon of restoration. The pulse key worked by resetting the balance of energy, returning things to their original state. It wasn't just a way to defeat the enemy. It was a way to remind the galaxy of what was important. As the pulse key activated, the dark force that had been consuming everything began to lose its power. Slowly, the darkness began to recede, pushed back by the light of humanity's knowledge and unity. The enemy didn't fight back. It didn't need to. It simply faded. The fleet watched as the galaxy began to return to balance. The stars shone brighter. The silence was broken. Riker's voice came through the comms once again. "We're not here to conquer. We're here to remind you. That peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the presence of understanding." The final message went out across the galaxies, one last time. "We are not your enemies, but we will never be weak again." And then the fleet disappeared. It didn't leave destruction behind. It didn't leave ashes. It left a warning. The galaxy understood now. Humans were never weak. They were patient. They were ready. And they would never be forgotten. The stars held their breath, waiting for what would come next. Peace, or the next test. But for now, the galaxy was at peace.